now it is end of week 3. Assignment 1 is due on Saturday of week 4, so I really need to post it because I want you to have it at the time when you have all background to do this assignment. It means today. Actually, you had even at the previous lesson all background to do it because it's not that long, that difficult. And I will discuss it today. We will also have new topic today. You don't have to use new topic in your assignment, and if you want to, you can. Because it is flexible. You know that many programs can be written different ways, and they still work, and they work right, written different ways. So in this case, you have flexibility how to do it. You can use today topic or do not use today topic. And I'll explain how to use it and not to use it. I also posted a quick review slides from previous stuff. So you can look up on slides or view content, refresh from slides without watching video if something is missed. So this is what I will do after assignment 1. After discussing assignment, I will quickly go through this and this. These slides contain extra information from today's lesson and a little bit from the future, but I will still go through, although examples are not posted for future examples. I also posted 3 examples that are close to dice games, but they use today topic. Also, they have kind of variants of what I want to discuss. So it is for illustration. We will not do it from scratch. It is to discuss the same concept again. And hopefully we will go through these 3 examples at the second half of the current lesson. Although code could be kind of sometimes long because it has HTML, CSS, but we don't have to go through every line of the code in order to understand general idea. I will explain general idea and emphasize important parts. If something doesn't fit, fine, we'll continue at the next lesson, next week. It happens, so we're already kind of fast. So we'll have some buffer time, so if we don't fit into today's lesson, it will go to next one. Okay. So let's start with discussing assignment 1. As previously discussed or mentioned, when you do assignment, it is really, really important to make it work to some degree. If a program crash immediately, doesn't show anything, this is really seriously bad because it means you cannot even do hello world. So your program needs to work to some degree in order to get a decent grade. If it's not perfect, you will not get perfect grade. But if it is crashing, not compiling, grade will be below 30%. This is bad. You have an entire week to fix issues and do it incrementally. Do something, check it, do something, check it. Do commits before you do commits after you do something that you want to keep. So if you break it, you can go to previous commits by clicking rollback button and fix issue. Or fix issue before going to back if you know how to fix it. So use Git in case if you break it and you don't know how to fix it. So you can always go rollback. So Git using is required. I use Java 17, current Spring Boot, it is 3 point something, whatever when you create project, it will use current. I develop a Spring Boot application that has the input page and output page. On the input page, you have ready button input, and today we will see ready button inputs in rock, paper, scissors app as a demo that, do we have rock, paper, scissors app here? Rock, paper, scissors app. And you will see ready button there. Ready button inputs is similar to drop-down list input to handle, but there is it's not copy-paste, so this is why examples here. So Our first page is input page, and it is imitation of some end of TV show. That some TV shows end such way that TV host brings closed boxes and asks winner, pick the price, not looking inside of the box, and okay. And the winner picks the box, and here's the price. And here's the content of other boxes, random, so because it's picked at random. This is it. So first page is showing radio buttons, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, or how many it says, at least how many boxes. Does it say? If it doesn't say, use 3. Just use reasonable number, like 3, 4. In the play button, display some closed boxes images next to radio button, so you can show how to display images. When you click play button, it goes to next page and displays your price and contents of other boxes. So user kind of knows what was there. You use different prices and make location of this stuff random. So next time when program runs, it will redistribute the same stuff around these boxes differently, or just use different prices at all. It is your choice, so content is random, essentially. So this is what's supposed to be kind of implemented. Also use some unit tests to test your business logic, like random number placement of stuff into boxes. And again, make some tests, like 2 testing methods. How you test it, it's your choice because it's your program. I want you to see that you can generate tests and apply it kind of sensibly. So this is it. Make it reasonably pretty. Use CSS. Do not invest too much time into beautification because we can beautify web page forever. So just show me that you can apply CSS sensibly. And you can link CSS to a page. Okay. Today's slides will also mention linking CSS. You can go with slides or go with examples that is using CSS. We didn't link CSS in our typed in code, but examples show how to do it. It's not specific. It's copy-paste essentially. What to submit? Just zip entire project and submit it as it is. Spring Boot projects are not large. If you just zip everything, submit it, the Dropbox of Slate takes it. You don't need to do anything fancy with it. Questions? No? So next. At the previous lessons, we learned how to display log messages. Or at least we saw how a program displays log messages. And I said that it is customizable and use it. How much you want to display, you can regulate it after code is already compiled. So because it's external settings, you can change how much you display per package. So package of you're interested to debug, where you're interested in debugging, you can display more. In other packages, you can display only error messages. So it's a fine control. Also, you can set up with extra settings, backing up these messages. So these messages will be organized into files. System set up such way that all the files are zipped, and even all the files deleted. So it will not pile up on hard drive. So system is extremely flexible, and when the application is hosted on the server side or on a real-life server, it's better to provide extra configurations. So logs are not displayed somewhere, just in a random place, because it's on the server, you don't see them. So they go into files that are split into files, number it according to date, zip it when they're old the one deleted. So it's important because when web application is hosted, something is crashing, you don't know that it's crashed because you are not the user of it. And it will record all issues, all logs, including crashes, errors. So in this case, it's important to set it up right. It is definitely extra information, and learn when you need it. It's not difficult. It is just looking up documentation. But this feature is far more advanced than println, because println is not configurable this way. So let's discuss using logs. It is slides in week 3 using logging. It is not specific to Spring Boot. It is a system using Java, and current setup is using system code SLF4J, which stands for Simple Logging Facade for Java. It is common interface to different logging systems. So you can use different logging systems under the hood using the same API. Okay. There is a user manual in details, also documentation in details. There's no specific need to read these manuals and details in the class, but it is extra information if you want to look it up. This system is not Spring specific. It can be used with any Java code. You need to do imports. You need to log link library. And here it is. You create a logo. You can print messages to the logo. And this is how to create it. You use class name, and the class name will be displayed in the log, so you know where it's coming from. This is on GitHub, so you can get it from GitHub and see how it's set it up if you want. But most of the time, we will use it with Spring Boot. There are several log levels. In this way, when you set up the log levels, you can find control of how much you want to see from each package. If you set up log level, for example, debug, it will display debug and everything above, including like errors, warnings, info. If you set up log level warn, it will display only warn and error. It will not display info, debugged, and trace. So this way you can find control of what you want to see. If it is used with Spring Boot, you can open application properties and set up controls this way. It is per package. For example, for controller, you can set up to display everything up to trace. For data package, you can from debug, so it will be debug, warn, and error. This is about Spring Boot logging documentation and extra information if you need it. When we created a project, I mentioned Lombok. Lombok is a subsystem that's designed to make Java code shorter. I do not highly recommend it, but some textbooks use it religiously in every project. So if you encounter such code, you should be able to understand what is going on. For this reason, I will explain how to use it, and we'll have at least one example with it. It's not hard to use at all, absolutely. How it works. System provides some extra annotations that are used as a shortcut for the code. So if you have such annotation, it is used as a shortcut for this code inside of the class. So, but in order to use it, you need to import dependency, and when you create the project, you put checkmark use Lombok. Also, Lombok comes with other annotations like add constructor. It will create automatically constructor. Add setters. It will create setters, and so on. It will not display this code. It will assume it. So compiler will get the code, but not you. You will see annotation, but not this line of code. Learn more, links for extra documentation. So this is how to use log. I use it in your assignment, so you can display messages nice way. A quick review with extra information from previous theory, and this is introduction to using model view controller with Spring Boot. Questions about that part? Okay. So, introduction to using model view controller with Spring Boot. So far, we learned that when we use Spring Boot, it's a web application. We have server running some code, generating HTML or whatever data, and we have a client, which is in simple case just web browser. In more complicated case, web browser running JavaScript. So when it is web browser running JavaScript, you have a lot more flexibility. Yes?
Sorry, just something else for the last topic that we covered. So we use that, I forgot the name of what was it, S4 or something like that.
Unit? JUnit, yeah.
I think it was JUnit.
Yes.
Either way, but you use that for logging, correct?
No, it is for testing.
No, JUnit is for testing.
Yes.
I'm talking about the other one, the one you were talking about previously.
Today?
Yeah, today.
It is for logs, for messages.
Logs, yes.
When you debug, you display it as well,
Yes.
so you can see it debug and
for.
for.
That for debugging and for logging. Right?
Yeah.
And the other one, you said Lombok, right?
Lombok, it is just shortcuts in the Java code. Yeah. It is shortcuts in Java code. It has more features than that. We will discuss it separately. I'm not using it right now. The reason why, in my opinion, in the beginning, it is not providing much except extra confusion. So, and again, many textbooks just do it religiously from first example to last example. I don't understand this approach. So far, we have a server running some Java code, and in order to run Java code, you have to use Java virtual machine. And Java virtual machine is also running server container. And server container is running framework, like Spring Boot framework, Spring framework. So the system is kind of piece inside of the piece, kind of layer inside of layer. Also, application can connect to database server to request the data. So we discussed it already, different kinds of web servers. There are two major parts of them, kinds of them, like servlet container, Tomcat, which is bare minimum to run Java web application. And anything else comes with framework. And the other one, the other kind, it is Java Enterprise Server, for example, Glassfish. There are many, for example, Glassfish. And it provides also Java Enterprise functionality. Since Spring Boot technology is a competing technology with Java Enterprise, it provides more features, the same features plus more. Not the same, it's not copy-pastable, but similar features, but more. There's no point of running Spring Boot on Glassfish server because in addition to running what you need, you also run what you don't need. That makes stuff slower. But this is also free, open source, available around for Java Enterprise. Cool. This is not end of them. There are many of servlet containers, many of Java Enterprise servers. Okay, what they do at the lowest level, when request comes from the server, they create request and response objects. HTTP request and HTTP response objects. Whatever is coming from the browser in the request, like piece of information sent by browser, is wrapped by Java container, Java servlet container, into HTTP servlet request. So lowest level API is to call those methods to retrieve this information. And whatever is going back to the browser, you add it to HTTP servlet response, and servlet container will unwrap it and send this information to browser. So what it could be coming, or not could be, what is coming, like a IP address of a browser, previously set cookies, information about browser settings, user input, and so on. What is going back? Generated web pages like HTML, generated data, JavaScript object notation, JSON, XML, new cookies, error codes, redirection addresses. So this will be wrapped into servlet response object. Common approaches to do Java web applications. Some people do combination of servlets or JSP or servlets and JSP together. This approach is extremely old, like more than 15 years old. So textbooks no longer use it. Textbooks do not publish this way anymore. But you can encounter this code because code never dies. People keep reusing it. And this will use lower-level API. JSP looks like HTML with inserted Java code, and it is compiled to servlet. Servlet is a Java class. So it's not really a template, but it can be used as template together with Spring Boot. JSF, we already quickly discussed it, Java server faces. It's another technology competing with this one. Also, it belongs to Java Enterprise Standard. And it is designed to replace this combination to make it something more convenient. But target it's a quick business application development, but it's phased out. The reason is it's hard to customize. The advantage, you don't need to write JavaScript in order to have JavaScript in the final product, because it is inserting JavaScript automatically. Spring Framework, it has the advanced way of doing it, and this is what we're using. And definitely combination of Spring Boot and JavaScript. This is the best, currently best. Also, Java Enterprise. Java Enterprise is essentially this thing, and Java Server. Terminology. A Java Standard Edition includes Java Development Kit, compiler, runtime environment. Java Enterprise Edition, it is specification. It is not actual code, it is specification what many companies implement. How Java web application is interacting with server. Servlet store Java code that does low-level request processing, and request and response processing. Java server pages store HTML and some parts that is Java to generate dynamic content and insert it. JSF Java server faces high-level APIs that can be used instead of both servlets and JSP. In Java Persistence API, we will learn it. It is object-oriented access to relational databases. It's also part of Java Enterprise Standard, and it's also used in Spring Boot. When we use servlet application, it is multi-tier architecture. We have for MVC, we have presentation layer that can be templates or pure HTML. If I don't need to insert any data, it will be pure HTML. JSP, it's a combination of HTML and Java that can be used as template. Business rules layer or business logic layer controllers. Some Java objects created automatically. If they created automatically, call it Java beans. And they wrap data to be displayed on pages. Servlets, if they use it as a controller or together with a controller. And other business domain classes, business domain defining business logic of the app. Data access layer represented as services, special access classes that contain access data or generate data, or deal with business logic. Repositories, it's lower level below services. When we use repositories together with the services, repositories is generated code, so we don't need to write. But we can also write your own one, it's not difficult. Other data access classes. What is Java Bean definition? It's not Spring. Java Bean definition is simple. It is just pure Java class that has constructor without arguments, enough getters, setters, methods. If you use special annotation, in addition to that, it becomes Spring Bean. When we use beans. Since Java does not support properties, properties are assumed by template system. So get is removed, and after this, you can refer shortcut name of the get method without get. You can also call get method directly. This will be more explicit. Okay. Tricky parts. If we have more than 2 capitals in a row, when you refer to the shortcut, it will be all it will be as it is. It doesn't go to camel case. So if you call shortcut get program, this will be down. This is camel case. If you call get SIN, after dot it will be SIN. S does not go down. So you see, if you have 2 letters in a row, capital letters in a row, it stays as it is. This is how shortcuts are defined. It goes into camel case only if you have 1 capital. It's a naming convention. A good idea to override to strings so you can easily display it inside of logs or error messages or in debugging info. Organization of Java, Java Spring Boot code. You can have a controller that is making decision what template to show, retrieving data from data access layer. You have some data access classes. You have business logic. It is not strict how you create and name your packages, but all your code that contains annotations, actually L code, not just contain annotations, must be in the same package as application class. Otherwise, it will not be found. So without extra configuration, that code will not be found. It will be ignored, so it will not run. Typical mistakes, students accidentally put controller class outside of this main package. So it's never found, never initialized. So any requests coming to the program is not processed. So this is typical mistake. So all business logic classes marked with annotations must be in the same package as application class or inside packages. So model view controller design. Model encapsulates data that we want to show. Our views defines how we want to show. And controller makes decision what to do when it receives inputs, when it receives requests from a browser. And of course, business logic helps make this decision. Our model view controller project, we have controller that could be servlet, but if you do it brute force, it could be servlet, but in most cases, it's not. HTML pages as views, style sheets also belongs to view layer. Images, custom tags, right? Custom tags are not supported in Spring Boot because it's not necessary. But JSP, that can be used with Spring Boot with extra configuration, but it's a bad idea. JSP is extensible language. So templates, HTML templates comes with HTML features, and you use HTML tags like image tags, h1 tag, and so on. But JSP is extensible language. You can define own tags that will insert whatever you want, including JavaScript. So again, it looks like advanced, but it's not really advanced. It is actually old news. So this is what is custom tag. You can define custom tags that can behave define behavior what you want, insert some code, some Java code, some HTML code, or even JavaScript. Again, when it was invented, it looked like a great idea, but it is phased out, or being phased out. What is controller versus dispatcher? Dispatcher is lower level API that is making decision what to do. And if we use a framework, we use controller, and controller methods are called by dispatcher. A dispatcher is not necessarily servlet. Filters can be used as dispatchers. Some frameworks, older frameworks, use filters as dispatchers. For example, Struts2 is using filter as dispatcher. Struts is how framework started. Struts1, it is the first Java framework that helped users to develop Java web applications. Because the previous one, it was using servlets directly, wasn't convenient. Both Struts1 and Struts2 are way too old to learn. So don't learn them. It is mentioned for history. This class is super important, and it defines starting point, and it's referring to itself. You can add class add code to it, and like in main, for example, or some other places. And this way you can do extra configuration, but typically people don't do it. But if we add this course, it can add code to it. It's valid. It will work. Some people do it. So don't get surprised if you see it there. It is used to initialize, to do some initialization of the program, but this can be easily avoided. This code in this class. Templates. Templates define appearance and how to insert dynamic content. If we use timeleaf, we declare timeleaf namespace. If we open template in a browser directly, like open HTML file, a browser behavior, like standard behavior of any browser, ignore everything that browser doesn't understand. The reason is that HTML is adding features all the time, and all the browsers should not freak out when new feature comes. So for these reasons, default behavior of all browsers, this is standard for web, ignore things that you don't understand. So a template th timeleaf defines namespace. You can rename th to something else right here, and it will still work, but don't. Okay? And so when you use the timeleaf templates, it is the only template system that you can open in a browser and see correct web page with fake data. Other templates do not have such feature. For example, if you use JSP, you cannot even open this in a browser because it is .jsp. Browser will say, what's that? Some templates do not use HTML directly. They generate HTML, but they don't have HTML inside. Also, you cannot just open this in a browser. Some templates, like, for example, Mustache templates, they will display code that will insert data. So page will be distorted by the code that will insert data. Timeleaf is using different logic. It has fake data and instructions hidden inside of th namespace how to replace fake data. You don't have to write fake data. You can leave it empty. But when you open a template in a browser, you won't see it. You will see this empty thing there. Static folder. Static folder contains, doesn't mean this is static web page. It contains files that send to browser unmodified statically, like CSS files, JavaScript files, HTML files that are not templates. So this is JavaScript. Controller. Controller, it's a class that is a front end of your application. It contains methods that are called when request comes. If you use general request mapping, this method will be call it for any kinds of requests that contains given addresses. .do is not specific address, but some textbooks use .do to say this is address of a controller. And again, typically there is no file .do, but it is some textbooks say. If it is .do, its address belongs to controller. I don't use it anymore, but it is just a demo. This is trace message. So when request comes, it will print to the logger, index is called. When it returns strings, this will be template name that is returned. Request mapping. There are two specific request there are specific request mappings like get mapping that will be called only when get request comes, and this is more general. You can map to one address. In this case, you don't have to create a values array, or more than one address like that. You create values array. Methods can return strings. This will be name of the template, or model and view. And this will wrap a data and template inside of one object. They can return other things, but it is less common. Okay, return types of the methods. This is what I already said. If return string contains redirect, what is after that is not the name of the template. It's a new address where a browser should send request. So browser will send request to address list students.do, which is probably address of controller to list the students. Okay. Model and view objects. Model and view objects wrap name of the template, name of the data inside of the template in data. And this comes as key value pairs. You can add additional pair by calling add object methods on the model and view. So you can add as many pairs as you like this way. And there is also another approach. If you use declare variable model here, you can add key value pairs to this model object. And in this case, this method is returning string. What is add validated? Spring Framework provides automatic validation according to instructions in your code. This is advanced feature. We'll definitely look into that quickly because it is used together with templates, and templates is not the best option. But since we're reviewing templates, we will have one example that is using it. So add validated means automatically called validation system according to instructions for inputs, how valid ranges and so on. When you display data inside of template, you use dot, and when you use dot, you can either call get number, get method directly, or you can use shortcut dot and name after that using camel case. So in this case, this text will replace text content of the span. Okay. So this is kind of loan calculate example. So we added loan objects that contain number of years for the loan, and number of years it's called get number of years. Th text doesn't have to be used with span. You can use it with any tag that can contain text, like paragraph, list item, TD. It's all compatible. You can take object outside of that. For example, instead of saying $sign student dot get first name student dot, you can take this object outside into tag wrapping it. So it is just shortcut. And in this case, you use star instead of $sign. If is displaying stuff conditionally, so if you open this in a browser as HTML file, browser will not understand this if because it will ignore it. So it will display this piece anyway. But if it is processed by a template engine, it will apply if according to this condition. And if condition is true, it will display this tag. Otherwise, it will not insert it inside of HTML. So this is useful to hide messages on condition. And if like this does not come with else, but unless is opposite to if. So this table will be displayed unless list is empty. So, and this list contains the data for the table, so there's no point of displaying table if it has no data. So we have two opposite conditions, either display no student data or display data about students. Since this if does not have else, we have to combine if and unless. Okay. For each loop is used to repeat tag. So in this case, this list item will be repeated. E, it is element of something that iteratable. In this case, it is fields of arrows, but could be any array that you add to the model. And this is what is from the list will be inserted as text of the stack. So it will replace this input arrow. So it will list arrows related, arrows listed in this data field. Okay. So it's not specific to arrows. If you add any array, you can do for each loop. So this you already saw it here. No, it's not here. Oh yeah, here it is. This is one element of the student's data from the student array or list, whatever is iteratable. What is C? C it is optional parameter in a loop, and you can use counter for it or index. Index starts from 0, counter starts from 1. It is if you want to display counter or index, or use index for some internal logic if you program. So this will display counter as the first column of the table, C count. And S, it's one element of the list. So it will be here. Right? And table will be printed unless it's empty. And table row is repeated using for each. Okay. So you will see this idea today with printing tables. Okay. Making links. Making links is tricky. Why it can be tricky? The reason is that you want HTML page open at a browser behaves like HTML. So when you click on a link, it will open another template page. So for this reason, there is a link href to open this file when you click on the link index. So browser can follow the links. But it is not what is used by default on the server side. Server side has own address space, and addresses are addresses of the controller. They are not addresses of templates. So this will be address of the controller. So when template is processed on the server side, it will remove this one, and it will insert a link to the controller. So links do contain two fields. Please notice that server-side link is starting with @ and curly brace. The same applies to links to CSS as well. Not just links to HTML or links to server, also links to CSS. See? So a link to CSS also has links to CSS file. That this will be used only when you open template in the browser directly. When system is processing it, on the server side, it will use this part. It's also starting with @. Okay. Templates for things that don't have fixed address, or templates that for pages don't have fixed address. For example, arrow pages. It shows up when arrow happens. Doesn't have fixed address. It needs to have extra slash in the addresses of links. It is for internal reasons. So system will create links relative to the root of the server. Otherwise, it will be relative to current address, and current address is not fixed. So it will not work, because it can appear in any address, any subfolder. So if we have a custom arrow page, we will have slash in every link. So system will generate link relative to root of the server, not relative to current address, because current address for arrow page, yeah, when it happens, so it's not fixed. Okay. And when we use forms, we can use similar. When we use forms, we submit data to address, right? So when we do it, like when we do so, we have to provide address. And forms do have field, call it action, that is address where data is sent, right? And it's also repeated twice because of the browser. So when we display HTML in a browser, we click on submit, we see something, and we see another page. So browser will go here if you open it in the browser. When template is processed, this is ignored. It will insert student. Did we use forms? No, we didn't. So this is the first time you will see it today. So also address. So since form contains address, all links, all addresses are duplicated. It's a feature or misfeature of template engine. Data binding. Data binding is a way to bind data object to a form. So when form is displayed, you can display default values. It is used to edit data, typically. And when you do so, you specify a form with given object. And when template system is processing template, it will insert data from this object into inputs. So it can be edited. So this is how to link it. And in the fields of the input, you specify a field, and this is property of the object, like program name. Okay, so when form is bound to the object, you can use automatic validation by calling @validated. It requires validation library. So when we create the project, we need to open extra tab IO and select validation from it. And it really does require extra information from examples that are using it, because long explanation, I didn't put it on slides. And of course, I don't ask you to remember it. Because when we display arrows, yes, it could be tricky. But again, it's a template engine, and using template engine, yes, it was a great idea several years ago. Now, better idea is to use front end written in JavaScript. That also provides templates validation, and not templates validation, user validation. We will learn how to do it that way as well. And I will provide example for this. Okay. Get method form sends data. We need to have a break soon. Okay. But okay, it's about to be over this. Our form sends data using get method by default. So if we don't specify method get request, it will use get. So it is the default one. And this is how to display arrows conditionally. See if fields has arrows. Okay. So when we send data using get, data is inserted in address line after question mark, ampersand connected, key value pairs. You saw this in dice roll example because it was using get. So use get whenever you can use get, because it is the best for simple case scenario. A get method, it is default method. Use it when you click on a link, type address in the address line, press enter, use any kind of bookmark. It's also using get. So this is what happens after we use get. Browser displays address of where request comes and the data. This will be receiver address. Question mark separates key value pairs. We have key, which is a request parameter. equal sign, request value, Alex, add, then last name, another pair. So this request was submitting name of the user. Get method. Get method should be used by submitting, should not be used by submitting confidential data, such as passwords, since data is openly displayed in the address line. So if somebody is looking over your shoulder, they will see this in the address line. So for this reason, get should not be used for it. It cannot be used for large data. Could be too long for the address. Get does not cause any warnings before data is resubmitted. If user click reload button, it will just resend the data without any warnings, because it is used for the cases where resubmission of the data is not causing issues on the server side. For example, in searches, you submit, and of course, if you do search second time, you don't mess up anything, right? Clicking links invokes also get method, and when you use get mapping, it will map only specifically get. If we use post, this is how it will appear. Data will not be in the address line, but it will be inside of a body of the request. It means it is kind of hidden, but it is not hidden from other computers on web. Post is not encrypting data. Any computer can catch it. So when you submit confidential data, data must be encrypted. The best way is to do HTTPS connection. And it's not part of the code. It's part of the configuration of the program when it is already set it up to run. So post can be used to submit confidential data, but it is not encrypting data. So it is not hiding data from any computer on web, so everyone can, any computer, hack it or not hack it, can catch it. So HTTPS protocol should be used with post if you submit something confidential. Post can be used to submit larger data. Post should be used where resubmission of the data may cause an issue. So for example, because it will display warning when user click reload button. And when user says, OK, resubmit, it will resubmit. It will not stop it from resubmitting, because who knows, maybe a user wants to resubmit. There is an option to combine redirect, get, and post. This takes best of two worlds. You will see it today. It will, or it's the next lesson, to demonstrate the concept. It's one of the common patterns on web. It's not Java specific. It's not template specific. It's web specific. How it behaves. When you submit data that where resubmission can cause potential issue on the server side, it's a good idea to use post, redirect, get. How it behaves. It is not one-step process when we send something and get response. It is actually two steps. You send something. You get redirection address that contains ID of something to show afterwards. And browser do redirection into that page. For example, you submit order, shopping order. Browser is receiving address with order ID and sending request display order by ID. And second address is get display order by ID. So it is not submitting anything that is bad to resubmit. It is just order ID. It's not original order. What would be behavior of a browser when you click reload button? Repeat last request. And last request always, whatever you sent last. And this browser sent last request is display order by ID. OK, fine to repeat, no big deal. OK. It will not resubmit this one because it is one before. Okay? So this trick is used a lot all around web. How would it behave on slower connection, on slower server? It will behave like a post, because it will not be worse than post. So if user clicks reload button before receiving redirect, of course, it will say, do you want to resubmit the data? And so it behaves of the post, behaving of the post. So post redirect get, it's not worse than post, it is better. But if server is slow, yeah, you cannot do anything about it. Or network is slow, also, it behaves like a post. Okay, questions? So we will see hopefully today or the next lesson. Example of text input. We 5 more minutes. Okay. So this is text input. You type number, it goes as input text. This program somehow needs to remember what was shown. Otherwise, how would it know that answer is right? Because if 4 times 7 is randomly generated, it needs to know what was generated. Right? So this particular program is hiding these 2 values as hidden inputs. So one way to maintain consistency of the interaction, like remember state, is to hide something inside of inputs. In this case, a program doesn't have to store data on the server side. It can use hidden inputs to maintain consistency of interactions, because different problems sends to different users, and different users send response randomly in a time, so it needs to synchronize problem and answer per user. And it is done by using hidden inputs. Typical hidden inputs is like a user ID, for example, so it can maintain consistency of interaction with user. So this is hidden inputs. And how to insert hidden inputs? The same way how you insert any data. You refer to an object and data field. So this is today's example. We'll see it quickly. There is another way to deal with it. How to receive it? The same way as any request parameter, because it's input. Also, another way to use hidden input is like user ID somewhere. Like delete data of a user, it will be user ID. Or update data of a user, it will be user ID to update the data. There are other ways to hide information to maintain consistency. For example, data in links. If we have a data in the address like this part of the path, it's called path variable. Or if we have data like this, in this case, it's request parameter. So this way, we also can maintain history by inserting data in the link. So when user clicks on the link, you will receive data when user clicks on it. One more way to maintain consistency, use cookie. Because when you set cookie, cookies will be received in every request sent, including user clicks on something, you will receive the cookie. Cookie is associated with path. By default, cookie path is a folder of your app, so you will receive it each time. You can limit path to subfolders. This way, cookie will be sent only when request goes to that subfolder. Getting cookies. Cookies have a name, so in order to get cookie from the request, you use name of the cookie, because you can have more than one, not request, in request, you can have more than one cookie. So you receive more than one, so you need to use the cookie name to get the cookie. You can provide default value in case if cookie does not come, program does not crash. So in this case, it will be empty. Okay. Removing cookies. You already saw this inside of dice roller. There is no API to remove cookie. If you need to remove cookie for some reason, you create cookie with the same name, max age 0. It will be sent to the browser. It will replace existing cookie and expire immediately. So this is how to remove it. It was already discussed. And cookies are traveling in headers of request and response. If you open developer tools, carefully browse request response content, you will see cookies. Cookies are also have displayed in special tag cookies when you open application tab of developer tools. At the left side, you will see tab, not tab, like folder, wrapping content cookies. You will see cookies also there. Fact about cookies. Once cookie is added to response, you will always receive it back. By default, cookie is associated with root of your app, so you will always receive it. If cookie, you can limit sending cookies if you associate cookies with subfolders. This way, it will be sent only when request comes to specific subfolder associated with the cookie. When you set cookie expiration time, it is in seconds. If you say cookie expiration time -1, it is not error. It's not remove cookie. It means this cookie will expire together with the session. So what is a session? A session is an object allocated on the server side associated with browser. And it is used to store data temporarily associated with the browser. So it can be used to maintain consistency of the interactions, session. And if cookie expiration type is set -0, it will be associated with the session, and it will expire when session expires. When we create session, we can specify expiration time, or it will use default. You have previous experience dealing with the session, like browser shows you session expired. So this is what happens. Server allocates time on the not allocates time, allocates object on the server side, call it session. So your program can store key value pairs there. And value, unlike cookie, where value is always a string, in that case, value is Java Bean, not Bean, Spring Bean, simpler Java Bean. Today we learned what is Java Bean, right? It's an object that contains class that contains constructor, setters and getters necessary to create it, to create the objects and construct. So it has to be Java Bean. And it has to be serializable. So one property. So Java Bean, it has to be serializable. What is serializable means? Serializable, it's a marker interface. So it was on slide, but I forgot to mention it. It is requirements of Java Bean. Serializable interface means this object can be converted into bytecode automatically and back. Why it is the property of an object stored in a session? The reason is that if a program is busy, server is busy, server creates lots of sessions for different users, and when memory is low, it will start saving this to hard drive, not to keep in the memory. So in order to be able to save random objects into hard drive, you need to have some kind of protocol to do it, because how else you would do it? So it is using default serialization protocol of Java. So it is using serialize interface. Okay. So in general, if your object is just pure Java object, it is serializable, but you need to write keyword serializable. So Java Bean, it's a serializable object, it's requirement. Or something else, but simplest, it is serializable requirements. Okay. So there is also, if you create your own object using different libraries, in addition to existing one, you cannot rely on Java to do conversion, because it refers to code outside of Java. This way you have to provide information how to save it. So it is a different story and it's more complicated. Okay, session storage. Okay, so if the same program is using session, you don't have to use hidden fields, because it will be stored on the server side. And you need to retrieve it from the session. So you declare session parameter, and you use key value pairs to pull this object. So HTTP session set attribute to put object there, because before you take out, you need to put. And in another call, if session doesn't expire, you can call get to retrieve it. Does it show? This set doesn't show get. Miss it from the slide, but you can call get. You will see it in today's code. You can display data directly from the session inside of template if you call session.object name and method from that object. This is how to get. You see, get session, get attribute key, and it will create an object. We need to typecast. Why do we need to typecast? I'm running out of time. How much is left? Not much. Last slide. So again, we will not have many examples today. Okay, so one slide left. So why typecast? Because return value of get attribute is unpredictable. It is whatever you put there. So it is a returning object, generic class of all Java objects, because any object that you create is inheriting under the hood from objects. So you need to typecast to the class that you want. And this will throw exception if it's not the one. So it is not type safe, essentially. If you do not state consistent, you create an object with different type, and you want to, when you retrieve it, you try to retrieve it differently, it will crash. So session storage is not, say, not safe in terms of type safe. You need to remember what, you need to stay consistent. If you put object of this kind, you ask typecast to that kind. Session itself is an object, as you see. This. And remember that requests come in parallel and process it in parallel. Since session storage is per browser, it appears there is no issue, because different browsers have different sessions. So it appears like there's no way to corrupt session data, because different browsers have different sessions. But it's not the case. It's possible to corrupt session. Session object on its own have protection using logs. So set attribute and get attribute is safe. So session object itself is not corruptible. But data that you add is corruptible, because inside of the object, it's your decision how you store. When corruption may happen, I already mentioned that different browsers have different sessions, so it's not multi-user issue. It's issue of one user. User can open two tabs of the same browser or two windows of the same browser and start to interact with them. Click something here, click something there. It appears it's absolutely unlikely that click something here and click something there, because it has to be close in time, like computer close in time, right? But both can be delayed through network and come close in time. So it does happen, and history shows that it did happen before. So, and how do we know it did happen? In Tomcat version 5, they removed session protection of the object. They thought it never happens, because users, they thought that it's very unlikely that user opens two browsers and do some interactions, and request comes close in time. Yeah, it's very unlikely, but when we deal with web, yes, it happens, because many servers run, and sometimes happens. So in Tomcat version 5, they removed log protections from the session object. And it caused massive crashes around networks. So servers were crashing and going down. Because Tomcat, it is popular server. So they didn't, authors of the Tomcat didn't realize, or at least one of them who did the stupid thing, didn't realize that if it is can happen in once in a blue moon, since we have massively used code, it does happen. So service started to crash massively. And of course, they reversed the bug. So it's for busy application, it can happen. So this is why we know it can happen, because it was an issue of when Tomcat 5, they removed log protection from session object, and they realized that it may happen that two requests come from the same user constant time. So what does it teach us? If we put object into the session, we should either use constants in it, so you never corrupt it. You put whatever you put there, you retrieve it, and this is it. Or you use logs inside of your object, so when you update it, it doesn't corrupt data inside of your object. Session is safe because it was only one issue in Tomcat 5 that was fixed quickly. But the session object is safe, so we can add attribute, remove attribute, and fine. Okay. So this is history and learning, and how session is implemented. Obviously, you need to match that object somehow to the browser. So you need some kind of ID ID of that object sent to the browser. So a system is using session ID cookie by default. So this is what is session ID cookie. It contains ID of an object stored on the server side, where your program can store key value pairs, and value is any serializable object. Bin. Key bin. So its system will create it, retrieve data from a hard drive. If it is saved on hard drive. Any questions about it? So I need to wrap it up because this is already without break. It's a lot with extra info. Hard drive of what? Because modern websites run on different computers at the same time. So there is really a question of hard drive of which, because server-side application can be run by several computers. So it is somewhat could be extra bottleneck, because this way you either share server for the files between different nodes, or you can use database server to store these session objects. In this case, databases also can be optimized. Tomcat provides feature for the session to store data in any kind of database, session data in any kind of database. It's also using serialization, but what is serialized is push it into database as text line, whatever. Or byte, I forgot what this, but it goes into database. It is done by extra library. We will see it by default. If you don't add it, you will not use it. Okay. API is the same. Its only configuration is different. Now let's have a short break, maybe. Or do 10 minutes and go end. What do you prefer? 10 minutes and end? Yeah, let's do 10 minutes and end, because I don't see point of. Sorry about running before. So since I mentioned session, let's do that one example, and other examples probably goes to next. In your assignment, you don't have to use session. Why? The reason is that you can generate content of the boxes when you receive it, user answer. Just don't cheat. Do not base it on the received answer, right? So when you receive it box 3, your program shouldn't cheat to put some garbage in box 3. Just generate content randomly. And it will work just fine, right? So you don't need to store content of the boxes between requests in your program, so you can avoid using session, or you can avoid using cookie, or session cookie, whatever. But you can use session if you really want to. It makes program only more complicated. So let's do example, quick example of what you saw. It is multiplication trader. So let's clone it. So I go here, code, copy it, clone it. It is relatively short to explain. It's probably 10 minutes. So let's, if we don't fit into 10 minutes, we'll just continue. So let's clone repository and projects. This is use command V. Multiplication trainer, Spring Boot clone. Trust project. It has multiple branches. Main is by default. It's also there is the simplest. And there's no session here. I think main is using hidden inputs. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. So let's run it. I think in class it is used in class to create session and change it in class in front of you. So we will probably do it next time, because this example somehow doesn't have, surprisingly. OK, so let's see what it does. We go to localhost 8080. We see mass trainer. A view page source. It's using session. It's not using hidden input. So by default, it's using session. But you see, it has included session ID in every link. Why? We also have session ID cookie. So if we go into localhost, if we go here and go to more tools, developer tools, application, cookie, session ID cookie. And if you compare, the same ID. Why is that? It is literally the same ID in two places. And there is more magic. If you reload the page, ID disappears. And it will never appear again. ID is inserted into first time. The reason is that server doesn't know if browser accepts cookies or user turn it off cookies. So when first page is sent, it was sent in response to request that doesn't have session ID, because it was first request. So server does not know if cookie sent to a browser will be stored, session ID cookie. So server tries to preserve session ID in every link. So when user click on the link, it will be sent. So this behavior will be repeated when session ID is not, cookie is not received. But when I click at reload, what reload does? Repeat request. Request was repeated, but now it is second request, so it will contain session ID cookie. So server will receive session ID, and it will know that cookies are allowed. So and it will stop inserting IDs inside of addresses. Okay. Yes.
What if you were to block cookies in this case?
It will keep inserting. Yes, you can turn off this feature. By default, this feature is turned off on most websites because it is less secure. So if you go to most websites that requires login and turn off cookies, it will just tell you you really have to use cookies. Because this feature is less secure, they turn it off by default. Not by default, on their website. Okay. So, okay, so let's put some wrong answer, submit, and now your answer is wrong, try again. So this program needs to know, needs to preserve it because it has multiple steps. Unlike a program from the slides where you have your answer is wrong, done, this version is giving you chances. Just because it is giving you chances, sending problem back and forth, it's probably less efficient. So I decided to store it in session. So in this variant at least. So this is doing session. So let's see that. Source, main, Java, controller, quiz controller. Here it is. A new problem address does not has parameter session. So when we created get random problem, assigning this to the problem, I display it in the debug, I add it to the session. So now, each time when request comes, it will replace to this address, it will replace the problem. When a request comes to see answer, so the form sends, no. See answer is used when you click link see answer. When you click see answer, it gets problem from the session. And if it is null, it means session expired. So it will show template session expired. So there is a template session expired. Try again. Try again is used when you click this. It goes to similar page, but address is different. But replacing the same, not replacing the same, the problem, right? So try again is not creating new problem, it is getting this from the session. And displaying this and showing try again template. Check answer is receiving user input. So this form is sending a request, view page source, to the action check answer. Okay? And this is in the browser, so we don't have TH. But when we open template for that, we will see it 2 times. We will see it in TH and not TH. So let's open this quickly. Templates, like, what was that? Try again, right? Try again. You see, check answer. This is with TH, shown on the website. And this is link in the browser if you open this like browser HTML file. Okay. So let's finish because we went without break. So makes sense. Okay. Questions?
So we're going to be doing something similar like this in our assignment?
So you don't have to use session. This is what I mentioned in assignment. Because you can generate content of the boxes when you already received user choice. Just don't cheat. Don't make it empty, one empty box each time. When user selects box 2, it's empty. Box 3, it's also empty. Right? I just make it fair, random content. You can use session. So content of the boxes are pre-generated before you ask user. In this case, you need to store it somehow, either in cookie or in session. Right. You can do it with hidden input, but user can open hidden inputs, view page source, and see it. Because hidden inputs are shown to user when user select view page source. So it wouldn't really do it. At least for people who are tricky. Okay. So, if done. Okay. So definitely it does require thinking when you do it. It's not 1 hour solution. But hopefully, with with previous example, maybe with this one also, it helps. I'm curious if it has the variant without session. So let's do check. Check. No. Simplest is also with session. But simplest does not have a try again, I believe. It is just saying the answer is wrong.
Okay.
It's not even compiled. Yeah, it's probably a previous version. So don't go simplest. Go main. I also have somewhere variant with hidden inputs. I did copy paste it to slides from somewhere. It's